Hey everyone, welcome to Retaliatory Strike. Today we have a game between Bob playing Durgen Madhammer and Paul playing Helga 2.
Hi everyone, I'm Bob, and today I'm playing Durgen Madhammer at 35 points in Hammer Strike Theme Force. So Durgen's got 2 drillers for melee, we've got a blaster and a gunner for the shooting. We've got Harlow for ghost busting, 2 Steelhead Gunners to pair up with the 2 Horgenhold artillery cores, so we can just wreck huge bases. We've got Herne Jonne there for the feet turn explosion shenanigans, and we've got a minimum unit of Forge Guard to put primed on and punch stuff. That is my list.
Hey, Paul here. I'll be running 35 points of Farrow in Thornfall Alliance. My Warlock is Helga 2 because speed is awesome and cavalry is even better. I've used her full War Beast point allotment on 2 Warhogs for my primary heavy hitters. I'm bringing a Meat Thresher to eat infantry, knock everything else down, and provide a large bubble of mobile concealment. Hopefully it's going to be pretty disruptive once it gets the charge. For units, I've got a unit of Farrow Valkyries shield guards to take some range pressure off the battle engine, and for the Rise theme benefit if I get lucky on tough rolls. I have a unit of SlaughterHousers to either run forward and engage things with their 2-inch reach and hopefully some more lucky tough rolls, or to be a target for Helga's primed spell as a second wave mop-up. They also have takedown in case I have to deal with some tough troops. Finally, I've got the Wastelander again as my rec point to deflect the first big shot off the Thresher back into the enemy, and between the shield guards, the trenches, the concealment fumes, and his native high defense, he should be pretty annoying. He might actually get a chance to hit something with a sword this time around.
Deployment. So on the roll-off, Bob won the roll-off and he decided to go first. So for terrain on the board, we have starting at the bottom left is a house, bottom right is water, bottom middle is rough terrain, and then the 2 blobs in the middle top right are forests, a wall in the zone, a house at the top, and then the 2 theme trenches for Thornfall Alliance. And then what Bob was doing for deployment.
So I deploy Durgen pretty much in the center, flank along with his escort of Forge Guard, who I want to put primed on later. We've got Jacks pretty much just flanking them, and then we have the artillery on the far flanks. I also have a Winter Guard artillery captain playing the part of my 2nd Steelhead Gunner, and then I just have Harlow left to advance deploy out front.
For Paul's deployment, he's trying to decide where he's putting the Meat Thresher. So he has Cray subbing in for Helga right now as he's unable to get the Helga model yet. We thought it was a little bit thematic because they kind of have similar rules with the giving her beasts cavalry and reposition 3. So he decides that he wants his Meat Thresher going up in the bottom zone there, and then he puts the Valkyries and the Wastelander down to follow up behind Helga and the Meat Thresher. From there he puts his SlaughterHousers up in the top there to go to the top zone, and after this he realizes that he completely forgot arcs on his Warhogs, so he takes a little bit of time to try marking them out, and he ends up putting sticky tack to mark the front of the arc. So that takes a little bit. For those, he puts 1 in beside Helga there and 1 below the Meat Thresher. And then we get into Bob's advanced deployment once he's done that.
And relevantly for objectives, I've chosen the Pathfinder objective since there's rough terrain directly in front of it. I think Paul goes with the healing objective because he has no imagination. And Harlow is going to advance deploy to play around that forest in front of my objective. And that's pretty much about it there, I think. Mercenaries, turn 1. So I have all my power-ups laid out, of course. I run Harlow to hang out behind the forest, because that's where he wants to live. All my heavy jacks are going to run, or trample 7 inches, and then reposition 3 inches, because that's a really handy theme benefit that they always have reposition. They get farther that way than they do by running. My light jacks just run, my gunner and my blaster. I have the blaster on the top. Durgen activates, he puts force field on himself and primed up on the forge guard. So relevantly, now that Durgen's immune to blast damage, if the forge guard blow up next to him, he won't get hurt by it, so that's always nice. And mostly I want the no knockdown. And then I desperate pace weapon crews and have them walk and repo real good. And Herne Jonne just ran out to hang out. Yeah, here's the walk and repo on the weapon crews.
Farrow, turn 1. I start off with Proxied Helga, a 2 to put up Battle Host for another 2 inches of movement on my Battle Group War Beasts. And then I kind of awkwardly advance 6 inches forward to put up Rapport up on my Headless Warhog over there. I'm still waiting for replacement parts. Then I reposition, pull 3 inches forward, and camp 2, hanging out by the repair objective in case Harlow starts blasting away at Helga next turn. I faff about here for a bit with the meat thresher, trying to figure out exactly where I can move between my objective and flag over there. I really don't want to run and outpace my shield guards and Wastelander with 2 artillery pieces on the board, especially ones that do so much damage to huge base models. Unfortunately, I'd like to get a few shots off here with the meat thresher's 12-inch reach gun, especially if I could get them into Harlow, but no dice on that. I then rile and run my Warhog up. If I was going for maximum distance, I should trample and then reposition 3 inches here, but I don't run the full 12 inches I get anyways, so it's perfectly fine. I run the Wastelander full 14 inches into a trench so he can hang out by the meat thresher and hopefully deflect one of those obnoxious artillery shots next turn. I then run the ladies up, they're 10 inches, and remember I'm playing into that artillery, so spacing them out is a good idea. And I pull them back a bit, less than their full 10. At this point, I do the same thing with the SlaughterHousers, and then once again do the same little stupid repositioning with the SlaughterHousers. I really need to stop doing that. Finally, I rile run my second Warhog up as far as possible into his trench over there.
Mercenaries, turn 2. So, I pay for both my upkeeps, Force Field and Prime, because I want those up. I don't have redline anything right now. Yeah, I never cast it last turn. I look to see, don't need to allocate anything. My jacks aren't doing any melee. The shooting jacks have powerful attacks. They only need the 1. I'm thinking if it's giving my feet turn, I kind of like that idea. I want to blow shit up. I walk up my gunner and shoot a shot at that Warhog, because I'm trying to bait out the Wastelander's take a bullet ability, and I really want to make him do his thing so I can start cranking mortar shots where I want them to go. And he doesn't take a bullet, he doesn't take the bait, because it's his first game with the Wastelander, so I'm really hoping he wants to just try it out. But nope, he lets that happen, which is the right move for him. So we do a little bit of damage to these shots now are Harlow aiming and shooting Helga. So yeah, Gunner did a little bit of damage to the pig, Harlow chips a little bit of damage into Helga, but that's about it there. So now I'm looking at what I can do, because I really want the mortars to shoot the meat thresher to death. But it's not going to actually happen because it's covered in shield guards and the Wastelander. So that's a problem. But I'm trying to will it into being, which isn't a great strategy. Ask anyone who's a good player, they'll tell you. So I'm looking at what I can do. And I'm thinking, okay, if I am going to defeat, Durgen's going to need to lead the way because he wants to get his feet up. So he walks up, and he drops his feet. Says, alright, let's shoot some stuff. He shoots at that guy in the Warhog in the trench. So I crank a big shot. hit him. Now, cool, I'm doing the carpet bombs, there's going to be some deviations. So, I do a little bit of damage, great. Now we do some deviations. Deviations fly over the place and don't actually connect with any other models. So that's shitty. I was hoping my deviations would go and blow up some guys. That doesn't happen. So now I'm looking, okay, now Durgen's feet's up. Let's go blow stuff with a mortar. So I'm looking at what I can do. I'm like, well, let's try, I guess we'll put siege tactics on, try to shoot the meat thresher. Let's pretend like it's not surrounded by shield guards and the Wastelander. It's Paul's new toy, so I do want to actually try it out. So I spaced the one gunner grunt, or the one mortar grunt in front, like far enough away that if the mortar comes back on myself, he won't get caught in my own AoE. Because I'm thinking maybe I won't have a mortar team left after this, but let's see what happens. So they aim, they shoot, they just miss, just barely miss the meat thresher. Or Warhog, they're aiming for the Warhog still. Yeah, well, they're in for the Warhog because I think the AoE, if it hit, would catch the Wastelander. So he pretty much has to try to take a bullet. But we're off by like 1. It's really close. But it does happen. So he's like, cool. Oh, yeah, because the Wastelander's take a bullet thing, rather. It says, like, if you're going to try to shoot anything around him, you have to try to shoot at him. So, yeah, we're really close. It does bounce back, hits me. The AoE goes on the main part of the mortar and the one gunner. We roll it out. The kills the one guy just dead. He doesn't pass the tough check. And then the other one does. So the one that does pass the tough check takes up the mortar. Great. In hindsight, we find out later that if Herne Jonne had given the artillerist action to the mortar, it actually would have hit the Wastelander, which would have been fantastic for me. That's not how we played that out, though, because I didn't see that interaction until later. So I'm in the tank a little bit trying to figure out what to do with myself. I just run the Steelhead Gunner over there, so next turn he can maybe run and contest or something. Just figure I might as well put him over there. See what I can do with him later. Now on the top of the table here, I'm looking at what the blaster can do. The blaster can go up and really only hit the one guy over the wall. So I'm like, you know what? I can hit one guy, I'm gonna do it. So the blaster walks up, blasts its big spray, kills one SlaughterHouser. Cool. That's him done. Now I'm looking at what the other mortar can do. So I say, I'm going to give you siege tactics and pretend like I can actually hit what I'm aiming at. So I'm going to shoot at the mortar, the meat thresher. And it's not going to work because you're just going to shield guard it to a model. So that was a pointless. Yeah, this was a rough go when I bring out a big gun line. There's a little, even just a little bit anti-shooting tech means my shots aren't going to go where I want them to go, which is a problem. So yeah, I roll it out, and I'm like, great, I hit you. He goes, great, I shield guard it, and I chain it to the one in the very back. I go, cool, do some big damage to the one in the back then. And I'm going to roll it out, and it goes, cool, is she tough? She's not. She is. She is tough. She's just having a little dirt nap now. Then I repo the mortar team back, and I'm trying to think of what else I can do with my life. I'm like, right, Herne Jonne haven't shot yet. They can still go shoot. And I should hear later. At one point, you'll maybe see me lose my tiny mind, but I realize they could have actually hit the Wastelander. This turn takes a really long time, by the way, because I'm really in the tank trying to figure what to do with myself. Because it was rough. Oh, this is us checking threat ranges and vectors to see if Helga could just charge up and smash Durgen in the face or not. Because like, if I need to, I'll park a jack in front of Durgen to keep him alive, but if I don't need to, I'm not going to throw a jack up where you can punch him for no good reason. So we check it all out and go, okay, she can't quite charge up and punch Durgen in the face. Great. Okay, I don't need to sacrifice a jack to keep that happening. So the jack walks up there. Great. Now this jack goes over there. Just same thing. Be like, I'll back it up. I'll back up the one little gunner, so if you kill him, I can maybe hit you with the jack. This is us realizing now that we could have hit the Wastelander, which would have been nice. Then I have Herne Jonne go and shoot at the Warhog, since the Wastelander's already done his thing. I'm like, at least I can hit something I'm trying to hit. So Herne Jonne go. They do the base-to-base scatter shot thing. So first they crank the big shot. It messes up the Warhog pretty bad. And then we do some deviations, and they piss off and don't go anywhere useful. So nothing else happens. I was hoping one of those would drift over and hit the Wastelander, but they did not. So that sucks. Then I just run my Forge Guard up to try and park them somewhere good. So they run up, they have primed arms, I'm hoping he hits them and explodes himself on me.
Farrow, turn 2. So I start my turn by getting the free rise benefit on one of the shield guards and then doing a vengeance move forward with them. And then I use the supply objective to heal Helga up from some of the damage she took from Harlow last turn that I really didn't want to transfer. I take in Fury from both my Warhogs and pay 2 to keep both my upkeeps up. And then I start planning to send in the Meat Thresher to kill Harlow, the other solo beside him, and put some damage into the Gunner and the Driller Jack. So I press the button on the Meat Thresher for +2 speed at the cost of D3 damage at the end of its activation. I do some impact attacks on the way in, which unfortunately fail to do anything. But once it lands and hits with its Thresher, it kills Harlow, kills the other solo, and knocks down the Bunny Jack and does a bit of damage into him. I then roll to see what rate of fire I get on the Thresher's gun. Unfortunately, I roll just an additional hit here, which means the Light Jack will survive on a couple boxes. If I'd rolled higher on the Thresher attack or gotten a bit higher rate of fire, I probably could have killed it as well with the Thresher. But I didn't, so Helga's going to have to activate next and clear that charge lane for the Warhog so it can land on the Driller and kill it. And this will also be my feat turn, because I want to get that free cast of Engine of Destruction, and I also want to get that end of activation move on all of my models that got a hit on any enemy model while within Helga's control range. Once the Thresher is also done threshing everything, I do a bit of a small advance forward just to get it stuck in further. And I also learn here that the app I'm using to track damage on the Thresher crashes whenever I try to damage any of its boxes, which kind of threw off my train of thought for the turn and slowed the game down a bit. But anyways, Helga activates, I feat here. I don't really have any great attack options for her on the left side of the table anyways, so it's a bit of a waste to have her charge a almost fully dead Bunny Jack there, but it's probably the best option for what I can get her on at the moment. And she easily smashes it with just her initials, because it's Helga under her +4 strength attack buff. And I spend 2 Fury here after measuring to make sure I have line of sight on that trooper to launch a battering ram forward. I choose not to push it back, or I choose not to push him back, but he makes the tough roll anyways, so it doesn't really matter there. And I just repo Helga out of the way to both to allow me to push her into the left side of the table if I need to next turn, and also to clear that charge lane for the reported Warhog, which is now Mat 11. Anyways, the Warhog gets the charge off, and after I press the button on the Warhog for +2 strength as well, and between that and the cav boosted charge and a bunch of initials, the Warhog beats the Driller to death. I think I actually roll Snake Eyes at some points on an attack here, which means in the end that I have to send the Warhog up at 4 Fury. Once the Warhog is done wrecking the Driller, I use the Helga 2 end of activation advance to push it forward into the last few remaining troops there, while remaining inside the Thresher's 3-inch concealment bubble. I should have healed the Warhog here from its theme benefit salvage, but I forgot to do so. And following this, I think about advancing the Wastelander behind the Meat Thresher, both for take a bullet on the Thresher and to be able to charge into whatever remaining troops there are next turn. I decide against that and decide it's a better idea to just push them up next to the objective to score that. Then I run the Valkyries up into a triangle formation so they can shield guard any ranged hits to a model that's within the supply objective's healing bubble. I try to get cute with the other Warhog here and pay 1 to put up its Bulldoze Animus, and I charge into the Forge Guards, which was honestly probably a mistake. I spend way too many resources trying and failing to kill the Forge Guards. I only end up taking down 3 of them. Or I think I take down 2 of them, and one of them dies to one of their own primed explosions. If I was running in Will Work for food here, I'd be able to use the Overtake Beam benefit to get that Warhog up on some more targets, but I'm not. So once everything is said and done and the Forge Guards that I can reach are all dead, I use the Helga to feat bonus to just push them up further into some more models. At that point, all I have left are my SlaughterHousers, which are at a position to really get on anything. I can get 2 of them to charge the other Light Bunny Jack, and they actually do a pretty good job, even though I haven't scratched it up to activate their bonus damage die on damaged models. They take it down to about half health. The other ones just run into the zone for contesting bodies. And at the end of the activation there, I measured to see that one of them is actually within Helga's control range for his free end of activation move. So I pushed that one up closer to the or to Bob's flag over there, just to contest that and to engage the other driller. Hopefully that model's going to have to be cleared off before anything else happens next turn. And I've got a sizable score lead just from the side of the map that I pretty decisively won there at this point. Honestly, those SlaughterHousers, their most important contribution here is sitting on that zone, preventing scoring, and there's really no way that the Light Jack's going to be able to do much damage to them.
Mercenaries, turn 3. So this turn's gonna be rough. I've got almost nothing left, so I'm trying to figure what to do with what I do have left. I pay for my upkeep straight away. I'm like, yeah, Prime's still gonna come into play with my couple remaining guys. Force Field's still really good because I don't want Durgen getting knocked down, and I'm still worried about my own guys, Prime guys exploding on me maybe. So I'll keep the spells. Looking at what I could allocate to is not a lot going on. Really in the tank, because I'm like, man, I've got nothing left. I didn't expect him to punch me that hard. Oh, the primed Forge Guard. 2 of them go in on the pig, 1 goes in on the meat thresher. So the primed Forge Guard starts slapping the pig around. 1 guy gets a big old hit. Life is good. Second guy goes in, gets a critical, slams him directly into the objective. And now we're rolling a big old mitt full of dice. And we're like, come on, buddy. Show me the dice. So there's a big old roll. And it just splatters him. He's a sad pig. So, and there's 1 more? I think, yeah. Oh, the last one was the one hitting the... I must have done the other one first? I don't know. The reach extra got hit with a hit. The other one, the pig got splattered by the 2 guys. Is how it panned out anyways. So now I'm trying to figure out what to do with myself, because there's not a lot of options. I don't have that many models left to work with. We also get chatting a lot this turn and talking and forgetting we're on camera and just yakking away, so do burn a bit of time. Here's me looking at where I can stand that driller to see if I can reach 2 guys or not, and I can't. So great, a driller can just kill 1 SlaughterHouser this turn, and that's it. Later I thought maybe I should look to see if I could pull off a trick with power attack throwing 1 into another one. Would have been really cool, but I didn't think of that at the time. So that's too bad for me. Yeah, this turn does go really long just because I'm like, I don't even know. I only have a couple models, but it's really hard to figure what to do with them all. So that's too bad. So lots of thinking, lots of talking. Oh, I'm rolling dice again. And this one was the mortar team shooting and at the meat thresher and then getting shield guarded to a Valkyrie, where it didn't do a lot. And then they repoed away. Durgen charges the meat thresher and hits it and does some damage to it. And then after that happens, he redirects some attacks into the Warhog because I'm trying to kill off the Warhog. So he basically burns through his whole stack of focus attacking the Warhog and doesn't kill it. So that's unfortunate for me. So there he is, focus empty, hanging out, not being able to do any good. Yeah, so the dwarf was knocked down because he passed a tough roll. I kind of forgot about that, stood him up, and then I was like, oh, he needs to stay where he was, so I kind of put him back. Because he had to stand up and try to sword the Warhog, see if he can be a hero and kill it. He doesn't. Over here, I have the blaster go in and try and do a melee attack. It actually hits and knocks him, like he passes a tough roll and knocks him down. So like, that was a waste of a activation though. Then the driller goes up and punches one other one. So yeah, not a lot there. So there I am all fucked up in front of him with nothing going on. I can't do a lot. And that was the other guy spraying.
Farrow, turn 3. So I roll to see if fire goes out on my remaining Warhog. It does. I use the supply objective to heal one of my remaining Valkyries, and then I do the 3-inch vengeance move on him. I make a frenzy check on my remaining Warhog because I messed up Fury management last turn there, and then I bulldoze the Meat Thresher forward. I'm kind of hoping that it will be able to kill Durgen by itself, but since it doesn't get the charge here, it's only rolling 2 damage dice into him as Durgen is still unable to be knocked down. So despite the fact that he's camping 0, the Meat Thresher will not be able to finish him off alone, but it does kill 2 troops and puts some damage into the supply objective. I was honestly hoping it'd be able to kill Durgen, but it doesn't manage to do so, but it's a super fun model, so I was just hoping to get some more use out of it, especially since it was my first time fielding it. That's all said and done. I use its 3-inch repo to try to clear a bit of a lane for Helga 2 for her to roll up and finish off Durgen. Honestly, that vengeance move on the Valkyries kind of screwed me over more than anything else, but with Speed 9 and Pathfinder, turns out that I can actually get her onto Durgen anyways with her 2-inch reach pull weapon, and I pay 2 to put up Engine of Destruction, advance, land my pull weapon attack on Durgen, pull him forward, and then finish beating him to death with Helga's initials to end the game there.
Afterthoughts. So I mean, that was tough. The Durgen gun line wants to shoot everything to pieces, and having the Wastelander and the Valkyries there meant I wasn't able to shoot the models I wanted to shoot. So that right out of the gate really threw off my turn planning. So that was pretty tough. I made a few other goofs and mistakes, like turns out if I had actually done the artillerist action to the artillery, I could have hit the Wastelander, which would have been fantastic, because he was a thorn on my side almost all game. Other than that, it was going to be a little bit of a tough matchup, no matter what, just based on gunline versus someone who actually brought anti-shooting tech. That was always going to suck a little bit. I'm sure there's a few other tricks I missed along the way, but that was the big thing, I think, for me, was this. It really threw off the feat turn planning. It's a little bit of a rough go there. Also, Durgen's Carpet Bomb and Herne Jonne's Scatter Shots, none of those deviations went anywhere useful, which also didn't feel great. Because I've had lots of games where they have gone useful places, and it's been fantastic. For this game, they both just deviated off to parts unknown, and that was no good for me. That was a big thing. Other than that, Paul played a really smart game, and I just had a hard time. So that was me. That's all my afterthoughts.
Farrow Afterthoughts. Overall, I think I did okay on the right side of the table and fucked up on the left side. Charging the Forge Guards with the Warhog was a mistake. I only ended up killing 3 of them, and I definitely didn't make back the points that getting that Warhog cost me. I also need to push more aggressively with my SlaughterHousers in the future, because at speed 5, they're much slower than the rest of my army. And even with 2-inch reach, if they don't have anything helping deliver them into combat, they're going to have a tough time actually contributing. In the future, I may just trade them in for a second unit of shield guards or swap into the will work for food theme and trade the SlaughterHousers in for a Void Archon instead, which would also provide me some anti-tough and also a -2 arm debuff, which would help me fight into some more armor. With the Meat Thresher, overall, I think it did okay, but I probably could have planned out its charges a bit better, gotten some more use out of Bulldoze to be able to land on more targets with its Thresh attack, knock down some more models, contribute a bit more there. It is a very big unit that draws a lot of fire and kind of just is disruptive, so being more aggressive with it overall and then maybe losing it, but doing more damage with it may end up being more useful. Other than that, really, I think the bigger mistakes were the stupid Warhog usage and the poor placement of the SlaughterHousers, but trading out the SlaughterHousers for something like that Void Archon, just playing better with the Warhogs in the future would probably solve that.